The next thing we're going to explore is how to create and use view sheets. So view sheets are powerful tools that can help you set up and organize your models, especially when dealing with multiple fixtures or multiple orientations during the machining process. Now, just like you can turn on and off various managers down here, you can also turn on and off the use of view sheets. If I go to the View tab, on the right over here, you'll notice that we have a group called View Sheets, and we can turn them on or off. And by turning them on, you'll now see down here, we have access to View Sheets. So the way View Sheets works is you create an orientation the way you want it. So for example, let's say you're really focusing on these features right in here. Let's just say these are critical to the machining process and they have to look just like that. Well, if you find yourself constantly zooming in and out of this location, move your part into this orientation and then hit the plus down here. This creates a view sheet. We're going to call this Custom 1. And I'm going to right click and say Save View Sheet Bookmark. It saves that orientation for the view. So now if I zoom out, right click and say isometric, this is my part. If I ever want to zoom back into that area, I simply double click and it brings me back there. Not only does using view sheets remember the orientation of the part, but it also remembers other aspects of the part. For example, what geometry was visible, what levels were turned on and off, what planes did you have activated. All of these things are remembered in your view sheets. So as an example, let's just say we want to turn off the wireframe geometry. Now remember, I can't turn this off because it's an active level. But if I change the active level to 20, then I can turn off my wireframe geometry. So let's turn off that, and let's turn off the vise. So now, here's my part with one level turned on. And let's say that this was a very critical feature here. And on top of that, let's say we want to put a plane right here. Now I know we haven't learned about planes yet, but let's go in and create a quick plane. And I'm going to make sure the center of that plane is right there. I'm going to call it arc plane. And I'm going to make sure that that arc plane is my active plane. So this is your working coordinate system, this is your construction plane, and your tool plane. And again, we're going to look at that shortly throughout this course. But for now, just realize we created a plane, it's active, and if I zoom out a little bit, all of the other geometry is off. So now I'm going to go down here, and you'll notice that the arc plane is already created as a view sheet. Now, how did this happen? This happened because in your planes menu, when you create a new plane, let's just select something. We're going to cancel in a minute, but once you select it, you'll notice under the Advanced tab, by default, it tries to create a view sheet for you. So when I created that plane, it automatically created a view sheet that was named that plane. So that's great. So now I'm just going to position this the way I want it. Right click and say Save View Sheet Bookmark. So by doing so, this view sheet now is set up with certain levels that are turned on and off and certain planes that are active. So to prove this, let's go back to View Sheet 1 by single-clicking View Sheet 1. And let's turn on geometry. Let's turn on the wireframe geometry and a bunch of these other pieces of geometry here on these levels, just so we can see a lot there. If I go back to Arc Plane View Sheet, by single-clicking, it brings that orientation in. Just that one level is turned on, and that one plane is active. View sheets are an incredible set of tools to use for programming in Mastercam. Just remember, Not only does it respect geometry and part orientation, but also your levels and your planes. So use these to your advantage when programming in Mastercam.